Welcome to the River Cruising Masterclass. Today I kind of wanted to talk to you about my top 3 destinations on the Rhone River. Just as a quick highlight, I went on the Rhone River in September of this year on Riverside luxury cruises, and I will do a full debrief on Riverside on top of doing our outlines that we're doing, which the next episode I do will be on Lindblad and Nat Geo cruises, which is another one of those new ones that you might not have heard about. But today we are going to be taking a break from those comparisons, and we're going to be talking about those top 3 highlights. Now, the Rhone River is not one of those ones that you originally think about. It has not had its day in the sun like the Rhine, the Danube, and right now like the Douro River has. But it was a beautiful river with a lot of unique destinations that I really enjoyed. It is definitely a slower paced, and we did a lot of cruising in the afternoons or in the mornings depending on which way you were going. And it was a very nice and relaxing trip. So it was very much a mix of busy with just being able to enjoy the atmosphere and just enjoy sailing. One of the things that I have kind of noticed with river cruising, because we go to so many different destinations, that there are places that I went in with a preconceived notion on and ideas were completely changed. My first river cruise, I did not think I would enjoy Budapest, and it was my favorite city. And so with that, my most unique city, or the one that I enjoyed the most, was the city of Vienna. Vienna is a really interesting choice because my first thing is when I was typing it out on my phone automatically corrected it to Vienna, which I totally get. It is so close, but it's a cute little city. You basically, as soon as you get off the boat, you are right there in the downtown area. And that's how it was almost with most of our stops on the Rhone. I think there was like 2 that were not that. So definitely an easier sort of experience and things of that nature. It was quiet, it was soulful, it was unexpectedly charming. They have a beautiful, which I didn't realize until I'd already made it up to the top, they have a little trolley that goes around, but they have a beautiful outlook where you can see the entire Rhone Valley, and it is just it's a serene area to just explore. This also has a bunch of history. Sometimes I forget how old everything is in Europe, and I will say that when I go to Egypt in next month as well. But Vienna was actually founded in 14 BC. It was founded in the 1st century. It became the Roman capital of this southeastern Gaul, which is what the area was called originally. It was a huge early Christian center, and actually had all of those pieces to it. It has some history later on, but it is famously known for the Temple of Augustus and Livia, which is still, you would think that you were in ancient Greece with how well these things were put together if you were in Rome. So it's definitely, oh my goodness, I think I'm allergic to my new candle. It's definitely really cool to see. They also have a Roman amphitheater that still has shows today, and it holds over 13,000 people. So as we talked about, the Temple of Augustus and Livia was built between 20 to 10 BC. So that's before Christ. We're not even talking about this timeline. So over 2,000 years old. It is a perfect Roman Corinthian design. It survived because it was turned into a church and later used as a courthouse, and its original Roman facade is still intact to these days. I have some videos on my Facebook. You should definitely look them out. I will be sharing them to my Facebook group, the River Cruising Masterclass, if you want to check that out, or just my professional Facebook page, which is Travel Advisor Sydney. The next thing was the Roman theater, the Theatre Antique de Vienne. It was built in the 1st century. It holds 10 to 13,000 people, and the acoustics were so good that I could just whisper and you can hear it on the other end. So not great for our gossipy queens, but great for if you're wanting to do a live performance there. It was buried for centuries and excavated in the early 1900s. So super interesting. And Vienna is actually famous for a jazz festival, and it's actually held at the Roman theater. So if that's something that you're interested in, I definitely recommend it. Another thing that they have there, which is not as old, is the St. Maurice Cathedral. It is an absolutely gorgeous cathedral that the construction took over 300 years. It is a Romanesque and Gothic blend, and it sits right on the Rhone. Like when I got off my cruise ship, turned to the right, and it was right there. So it's a perfect walking distance, very easy to get to. It is house of medieval carvings, stained glass, relic, and it was actually home to the Council of Vienna, which is famous for getting rid of the Crusades in the 1300s. So those are like the top 3 things that are there. The fun facts that I have kind of about this is that jazz festival I talked about is one of Europe's best jazz festival. It has over 2,000 years of history, and it is a Roman city in France. It has that small town charm. It's easy to wander, an authentic French feel to it, and it wasn't trying to impress me, and I think that's why it did. That was a day that I actually didn't do any tours with the cruise line. I got off the ship and it was so easy to just walk around and be able to see everything without having to worry about getting lost, about kind of being able to feel that old world charm. They had this cute little cafe right next to the temple of Augustus and Livia, like literally like here's the temple and here's the coffee shop. And so I just sat there and enjoyed a coffee and was able to just be part of the French countryside versus being like tourist. And so those are things that I love to do as well. As I talked about, they have a really fun walk up, and I actually walked up to the tippy top. They have the great instructions, it's visual, just go this way. But they do have a little trolley system, which I found out about when I was huffing and puffing. I was almost to the top, but I did it. And I have some beautiful views because you get to look out over the entire Rhone River, and it's got this beautiful curve to it. So I definitely recommend Vienna as one of those stops that you didn't think you needed to see, but is beautiful nonetheless. So to transition from that top, one of those things is the second one is actually the city of Lyon, which is where we're gonna go from the quiet to so soulful to delicious and big. So Lyon is going to be one of the most popular cities that you'll find in the south of France. Avignon and Lyon are going to be the 2 biggest cities. We actually started our cruise in Lyon and it hit it midway through because we did the Saône as well as the Rhone rivers. So that was kind of like the connecting point. It is a beautiful big city. You have so much amazing architecture. They also have a Church of Notre Dame that sits on top of the hill, and it's gorgeous to go and explore and see. It's also just a fun city to wander in. It was founded in 43 BC, and it was the capital originally of Gaul and silk weaving center. I did buy silk. It is a UNESCO World Heritage City. So as I kind of talked about, I mentioned quickly, the Basilica of Notre Dame was built in 1872 to 1874, and it's got this gold mosaic, marble, frescoes, and its iconic view over Lyon. So it's actually nicknamed the Upside Down Elephant, but you can go up to the top and have again. If you're into just views of cities, I definitely recommend it. To Old Lyon, and we explored the city. It's one of Europe's largest Renaissance districts, and it has the Cathedral of St. John Baptiste, where 2 popes were actually crowned. Now this is an interesting spot because it's a foodie capital. Like when you hear of Lyon, what is like synonymous is food. And so we did go to some little restaurants. We had some tapas. We just like had little samples as we walked through and went shopping and explored. It just has a lot of great mix of modern and old history if that's what you're into. It's a great place to see, taste, feel, and do all of those other things. It's a big city, it's approachable. We were there, actually the day we were there was one of the French protests. And when we were out shopping and exploring, you could see there was some concern about the protests, but it actually never really affected us. The only thing that happened was one of the more fancier shops that we went into gave us just a paper, like a brown black bag versus their typical like monogrammed, just to be more conscientious. We did not see any protesting, even though they were worried about it. And it was one of those things where I didn't see that as an issue, which as you know, the news makes such a big deal out of all of that stuff where it's very much in a particular area. So I guess a tale on that is that when you see the protests and when you see that there's going to be, which is great about France, I'm gonna chase a squirrel. What is good about France and a lot of European cities is that they have to call for a day of protest, and so you know ahead of time when it's going to be, what's going to happen, and how it's going to affect situations. And so you can kind of like adjust course. So on this cruise, like some people ended their cruise that day and they were worried about like the transportation strikes and things of that nature. And so the cruise line was able to get some private tours or private drivers to help out and things of that nature. On our trip, as we were exploring, our tours and everything was fine. When we were out exploring in the afternoon, we didn't see any of the protests. I know they were a mile away or something of that nature. Some of the shops were boarded up and still open. Some were just going about days as normal. And on the news, I saw it like 2 days later where they're like, oh, huge protest in Lyon. And I was like, what protest? But it's just to kind of say that if you do have a travel advisor, one of the things that I do is I was constantly looking out for was how this is going to affect the trip, if we can pivot and change direction so that it's not ruining. But it's also only one day. So it didn't affect any other day because the French, when they do a protest, it's one set day and then they go back to normal the next day unless they are identifying another day of protest. But it did not affect my opinion of Lyon. It was an absolutely gorgeous city. It was a great place to explore, and I definitely recommend it. So the next one that I'm going to talk about is actually going to be an exclusive riverside excursion that we did, and it was the Chateau de Pape. I butchered that, but this is all about wine. So the Pope moved to Avignon in Lyon for a hot bit before it was in the Vatican. And John the 22nd actually built a summer palace here, and they had vineyards all around. And so what they did is they actually used this as a way to make money. And this Chateau de Pape is actually the Pope's castle. It was built in the 14th century, and it is still to this day part of the Pope's legacy. What we did a tour of the winery, and we walked into the wine tasting room. All of the lights are off. It is completely dark. We're walking in, and then all of a sudden the violin starts playing and the lights turn on, and there's this beautiful violinist who's playing. There's like 20 of us, 35 of us, and we're getting an exclusive wine tasting experience by one of the owners of this winery. It was such a beautiful experience. We were able to do a tasting. We got to be talked through all of the different blends that they have, a full-on experience. We had the violinist who was there the entire time. I felt like I was in a Bridgerton movie. I am not gonna lie. And what is so cool about this winery, not only the fact that it was the best wine I had on the entire trip, and France is known for its wine, is that all of the bottles have the seal of the Pope on it. So it has the Pope's crown with the keys. So it still has that designation to this day. It is worldwide known for its bold red blends. It is a beautiful vineyard throughout the region. It is a gorgeous location, and it was such a unique, one-of-a-kind experience. It lives in my life. We did have to drive there, but yeah, it has the seal. And sorry, it's not a crown, it's a tiara with the crossed keys. And it is unique to only these wines. And it is nearly impossible to counterfeit. So you could try, but like, why? And it is a seal of the authenticity. So I definitely recommend, if you're going to this region, to go to this winery. If you can get in, it is exclusive. I can help with that though. And I had such a lovely time on the Riverside cruises. That was the intimate wine tasting. It was not rushed. We were the only ones there. It was beautiful, like storytelling and music from the guide, from the musician. It was time to enjoy the vineyards, the town. So when I look back at my Rhone River cruise, and I'll go through the details of the cruise ship itself, but I really enjoyed these 3 like trips or things, which was Vienna, Lyon, and Chateau de Pape. Again, butchering that. But the Rhone River feels different than the Rhine and the Danube. It is slower, it is more intimate, it is more feelings on that, like food, to experience things in that nature. I love the Rhine, I love the Rhone. It is a completely different experience. I will tell you, I do not recommend the Rhone River for your first cruise unless you are going in with that full understanding of it's not going to be like some of the other cruises. The typical first river cruise. It's the same thing as I don't recommend the Douro for your first river cruise. I will be doing 2 episodes of my series, the National Geographic Lindblad, and then after that is, I can't remember. Anyways, I'm doing 2 of those, and then I'm gonna do a recap of my Rhone River on Riverside, and then I'll be going back to probably 1 more, and then going back to it, because I can only do so many of the comparisons at a time. I'm hoping to have a couple of people on board as well. So thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to talk to you more. Stop.